Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CPA Moms podcast. I'm Nicole, your host and the brand ambassador of CPA Moms, where we believe that real success is only meaningful if it holds up in every area of your life. What we call the 4 F's: financial, firm or career, family, and fitness. If one area is failing, then the others won't feel like success, even if they are all thriving. You can have a successful career and climb the ladder, but if your family life is falling apart, it's still not going to feel like success. Today's conversation is one that so many women quietly need. We are talking about burnout, not the buzzword version, but the kind that creeps in when you're successful on paper and exhausted everywhere else. I am joined today by Lauren Baptiste, who is a burnout coach for professional women, and she shows firsthand the dangers of burnout. Welcome, Lauren. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's just first start off with defining burnout because I know it can show up in many different ways.
Great. And it's important when we think of this that the definition, like you're going to hear it, but really let it sit for you. It's comprised of three things according to the World Health Organization. First, burnout is an occupational phenomenon. It's comprised of exhaustion, cynicism, and detachment. So, okay, wait, what? What is that? So take a moment. Exhaustion, physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion. Okay, now we can start to really like get comfortable in it of like, oh yeah, this maybe checking a couple of boxes in that regard. Cynicism or detachment, thinking of, let's say, maybe wanderlusting about a new job or a new life or getting away, going on a vacation that you like desperately need but won't book. Noticing you're a little bit negative when you show up to the office when you used to be like the positive Polly of the office. Notice that change in how your behavior is. And then there is an ineffectiveness at work. So when we're thinking of ineffective at work, you want to be considering were activities that you were once doing now taking you much longer. So thinking about the three things that make up burnout is a starting point because you need to have all of them, at least part of all of them, to be really considered burnout.
That is very helpful, and that even leads into like things you can look for specifically that are leading you towards burnout when you start identifying one of those. Oh, wait, do I have this other one too? I need to be on alert here. So,
Absolutely.
and I think one area where that can definitely show up is for moms who, are have the full-time job and have all the responsibilities at home. And so is that kind of the same definition for them, or are there different things to consider for them?
I think it's important to just consider who we're talking to, right? So there might be physical exhaustion where you're not getting as much sleep as you like, but think about cognitive. You are likely carrying the mental load for your house to some extent, even if it's 50-50, which it's usually not, but if it were, but that's still a lot. And so thinking about all of the tabs open in your brain, even just functioning in the morning to get your kid to daycare or school or, um, extracurricular activity, you need to be like, well, what do they need to bring? Do they need to eat? What do I need? Do I have enough gas in the car to get, I have to pick up this kid on the way, like a friend on the way over. So think about all of the tabs open. This is where I really want for moms to be thinking about burnout showing up that way. It may make us feel physically exhausted. It may have us emotional because we're all over the place running without a break. But that is really for moms where I want you to see it from at least that exhaustion perspective. And then notice the vernacular with maybe other moms. There is this sometimes like water cooler talk, whether you're at the office or you're, talking to a client or even with a friend of, this is so hard, this is what it is, everyone's sick this time of year. Like it just becomes almost an accepted conversation versus taking control and being like, okay, I don't need to vent all the time to everyone about everything. And then if you're ineffective, is it because you're a mom, that you have all these extra new things that you have to do, or is it because of burnout? And I think that's important to distinguish for yourself as well.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so some of those things you said, I call that the silent workload. Just all of those extra things that are constantly running through your brain. And it's things that, you know, in the change in seasons, getting out their winter clothes and just keeping on top of, do they need more clothes? Are they getting to that point where they're growing out of their clothes? Like there's so many of those types of things that are just occupying space up here. And it's just
Absolutely.
like a constant like checklist. Oh, am I on top of this? Am I on top of this? Did I do this? Is this needing to come up?
Right. It's so true. And that's why I think, we can see statistically that women often do burn out more than men. And it's important to even, can we go deeper? Is it moms? I haven't seen the data on that, but I think for most of us, we can understand why that might be the case if we were to conjecture of whether that's real or not. So I think that's important to consider too. Burnout is something we want to be mindful of professionally, but understanding that personal can be playing into it. Even if we love being a mom, even if we love juggling work and the responsibility at home, it can still burn us out.
Right. Well, let's talk about what is creating the burnout. What are some primary drivers in it?
I think that's a great question because what we'll often think of is burnout is because I have a tough client. Burnout is because I work too many hours. Burnout is because I don't get enough sleep. Burnout is because insert thing to point your finger and blame. But I want you to be thinking about burnout as actually an indicator that the way that we're operating is a little bit off. Maybe it's the way that I'm thinking about those things, about running around picking, driving all the time and picking up kids, or trying to balance all the things, or the hours, or the tough client, or the workload. So there's part of the mindset that is a primary driver of how we're thinking about the circumstances in our life. The other thing is a lot of us aren't properly managing our time or goal setting so that we can have space or time for us. We're triaging everyone and everything else based on everyone else's schedules, but not taking time for ourselves. I'm also noticing that we're not delegating. Great. Like we could do better for sure. Do we have to, are we the best cook? Are we the best cleaner? Are we the best,
Mm.
insert like activity? Are we the best driver? Can we be more strategic to get more help? And can we ask for it? So I'm seeing boundaries as a driver. And then one of the things that I think is also important to bring up, especially as CPA moms here, is that a lot of us are type A's. I'm a type A myself. And that type A tendency of people pleasing, meaning saying yes even when we know we should say no, perfectionism, trying to be the perfect mom and the perfect business owner and the perfect employee. And then there's procrastination. And a lot of times we think procrastination is more of like a type B tendency, but it's actually type A because often we procrastinate because there's so many other things that we feel that we have to do in order to to be the perfect mom. And then by doing so, we're procrastinating on something else. So there are a lot of these like drivers that aren't related to your hours, that aren't related to your workload, that aren't related to a tough client. And that is where we start to break down burnout. Because if we keep believing it's the circumstances that are burning us out, we'll never break the cycle. Where now that we know that it is goal setting, time management, boundaries, type A tendencies, we can actually start to find a solution.
There were so many good nuggets in there. Like, you talked about mindset, and I'm just starting to believe that everything comes back to mindset in some way or another, and like just how powerful our minds are, and how just shifting the way we're thinking about things can
Yes.
change so much. And like you just don't realize just looking at it differently. the words you say about something, I have to versus I get to.
Yes.
Little shifts like that that can just make such a big difference in your outlook in life. And then you talked about time management and goal setting. And I want to kind of connect because you went on to talk about procrastination and how it's because we feel like we have to do everything. And that kind of help, like if you're goal setting and what are the most important things to me. And we talk a lot about like really being clear on your values and then shaping your goals around those to
Yeah.
where the tasks after that, the tasks naturally align and you'll start to get really clear on what do I need to do, and what can I not do based on
Mhm.
what's most important to me. And so those really, I felt like went hand in hand. And then, of course, perfectionism. We all have that. And one of the hardest lessons I learned as a firm owner was everything doesn't have to be 100%. Like you can be okay with B level work sometimes, which is very hard. It was so hard for me to accept that.
That is one of the hardest things my clients like work through. They'll be like, well, if I'm giving B plus work, that's what I'll call it. I like to say call it B plus work. And they're like, well, then that means I'm doing 12% wrong or not doing it. And I'm like, no, no,
Yep.
no. Nope. The idea here, for anyone who's listening to this or maybe new or hearing it a little bit differently, is the idea of there's what we need to get done, and then there's excess. What we need to get done is this, let's say we need to do a certain filing by the end of the month. That needs to get done. It doesn't need to be done on the 20th of the month. It needs to be done by the 30th or the 31st of the month, right? If there's a certain work paper, getting it done means getting it right, making it accurate, factually complete. It doesn't mean color coded. And so I
Yep.
want you to be thinking, what am I doing in my life that's excess? And one way to even think about it is if I were to move away from that A plus, B plus, C, and F, like C, D, F kind of like scale, um, how can I shift to a pass fail mindset? Think about driving your kids to school. Do you think about like how you rated yourself on the drive? Were you like, that was an A plus drive? Or were you just like, I got them there? Like,
Yes.
so it's think about a lot of this. So if the B plus kind of mindset feels hard for you, think about it as a pass fail. And I find that you like a lot of women can like sink into that a lot easier because they're like, well, I'm not grading my food every night and how I cook for my family. I'm not grading how I go to bed or, but we do for some reason we grade ourselves on like how we show up as a mom, like almost like a general grade, and then we give ourselves a grade for how we show up at in our jobs. And if you're a CPA, you know it's pass fail. We all took the exam. Like it's pass fail, baby. Like it's like you want 75, and then anything above that was excess.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and just like to apply this in a certain area, one area that this really hit for me was quarterly estimated tax payments for my clients. Like at the beginning, I was sitting there and like, no, I need to know exactly how much they're gonna owe come tax time so I can get them
Mm,
another. No, you need like ballpark
ballpark.
figure. It gets clearer as you get through the end of the year. In Q1, you can't possibly predict 100% on here's what you're gonna owe. Like
Correct.
ballpark
Yeah.
figures.
And it works, right? It's like it works. And I love that. That's such a good example. I'm taking that. I like it.
It's crazy how much time I used to spend in Q1, like, oh, I have to get this right. I have to get this right.
You're like, I have to predict the future for the following 3 quarters.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
All right. So I know that you have a special surprise that you have been working on, and I would love to hear more about this.
I am so happy to share. Thank you for inviting me to talk about it. Well, a few months ago, while I was pregnant with my own baby, the AICPA reached out to me and they asked me to create a baby for everyone here. and it is a burnout prevention toolkit. It has just launched at the timing of us recording, and it is a really helpful resource. It, as an individual, as a firm owner, and as someone who cares about the profession, who wants to make sure that our job stays even with technology and that we still feel really comfortable no matter what's happening like with our work-life balance. And the way that I broke out this toolkit was that there's something for everyone. It starts with I have well, there are six tools in it. So let me take a step back. There are six tools in it. There are three for the individual. So there's a stress assessment, which I highly recommend that everyone takes to understand where you are in the stress spectrum. And then there are weekly handouts that you can check in, quick 5-minute exercises to see how you're doing, what you want to work on, how to prioritize, like we talked about, that goal setting and time management so that you make sure you triage what's most important. And then there's also a tool to make sure that as you're going through this, you can not just be aware of your stress, but work through it. So that's for the individual. For the company, the firm owner, the employee, right? You could still, if you are the employee, you could still pass these up to leadership. If you are the firm owner, you can use these, and they are the My PACE framework, and that is about assessing burnout for your company and on your engagement teams. And then also there is the burnout implementation guide. And in that guide, it's to actually help prevent burnout on a wider scale. So even if you are a team of one, well, then your well-being is most important because you're the CEO. If you're a team of
Right.
three, you want to make sure your people are doing really well and can manage hard times and stress. And if you have 300 or plus, right, like then it's also a useful tool for you. So each of those are meant to really give you what you need, meeting you exactly where you're at.
I love this. This is so juicy. Good stuff. So tell me, just access wise, you paired with the AICPA on this. So is this something you have to be a AICP member and then it's free, or there is an additional cost for it? Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're an AICPA member, it is free. So technically it falls under their PCPS group. So some of you, I've given the link and they say, I'm an AICPA member, but not a PCPS member. That's fine. Message me and I'll send you the link. And on the side, if you're a CPA, just message me and I'll send you the link because I think this has to get to everybody far and wide. So I will give Nicole my info, but I'll also give the link to the AICPA. So hopefully you can all access it there. If not, send me a note. I want to make sure that everybody gets this. It is too important to hide behind a wall. And honestly, a lot of it is already on my website in one way or another. So it's just a tighter version of all of the things that I put together over the years. So send me a note.
Yeah, and we can put the link in the show notes for that.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. And just to think, I want you to be thinking about it. So as you access this toolkit, know that it's a starting point. That's why I love, like, start with the self-assessment. That's the one that I think is really important that everybody start with, because whether you are a firm owner or you are just a party of one, or, you should know where you fall on this because how you feel today will dictate how your busy season goes and how the calendar year goes. And you want to be really onto yourself if you feel like last year was a hard year and you were stressed out. Well, I could tell you if you're less stressed, you're going to have a much better year. So start there and then know that if this is something that you're like excited about, but you still like you feel like you need more, you want more, this is where I'm excited to be sharing. And then other like news is that I'm coming out with a course that helps talk through these primary drivers that we talked about. So goal setting, time management, mindset, boundaries, type A tendencies. Because after being in the profession for so long and working with professionals in it for so long, I know that there is a gap here where we're not getting these skills that we need to be most successful. So that's coming out in 2026. So you can also stay tuned and see that come out as well.
great. And if somebody wants to find you, what is the easiest way for them to do that?
They can go to my website, acheloawellness.com. That's Acheloa wellness.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I even have a new Facebook community for burnout prevention and burnout recovery. This is for everyone, not just for those in the profession, but it already has 3,400 professionals in it that are just looking to better their lives and have more tools at their disposal to keep moving up and up and up. So and no matter what level you're at, if you want just free or if you want support or if you want one-on-one, or if you want a group or a course, like you have all of the options. So burnout no longer has to be an excuse or anything that's in your way. I'm all about clearing that up for you in 2026.
Awesome. All right, Lauren. I always like to leave the listeners with just one tidbit. What is one small shift they can make in their life to help with burnout?
I always say start small, start consistently. Starting small might be, if we're talking about what we discussed over the past 20 minutes, it's going to be take that self-assessment. Know where you're at. It's going to give you quick hits on things that you can do to better yourself. And so start small, start consistently. And even if that means for you right now, just drinking enough water every day, that will also help your stress. There's data to back that. So anything that you do that's small but consistent will get you where you want to go.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. It has been a lovely conversation, and I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for inviting me into your podcast and inviting me to speak in front of your community. I've really been enjoying listening to your episodes too. So thank you, Nicole.
Oh, thanks. All right, that's it for today's episode. At CPA Moms, we believe that women can have a successful career and raise a happy family. If you are ready to embrace work-life harmony and connect with like-hearted women, join our CPA Moms Facebook community. Just click the link in the show notes or search CPA Moms on Facebook. We can't wait to welcome you. Until next time, thank you for being here. We see you, we believe in you, and we can't wait to grow with you.